That is easily the fastest drone I have ever flown. So I typically start my videos with some specs and take a close look at the drone, but with this one, I needed to start with some flight footage. All of that footage that you just saw was in real time. None of it was sped up. If you don't believe me, go back and check the timer that's on the OSD. This drone is absolutely wild. Easily the fastest drone in my fleet, GEPRC has nailed it with this build. Let's take a closer look at this drone and go over what's inside. So the drone uses 5-inch props. It has a wheelbase of 208 millimeters. The frame is made of carbon fiber and there's an aluminum plate that sits in the middle. This aluminum plate also holds the flight controller and ESC. The arms are 5 millimeters thick and overall it feels like it's going to be very durable. If you do have to remove one of these arms, they've actually made it really easy. If you end up having to replace an arm on this drone, all you have to do is remove this single screw right here and the whole thing will just come right out. That aluminum piece in the middle has 20 by 20, 25 by 25, and 30 by 30 mounting for pretty much any flight controller you'd want to put on this thing. The stack on this is GEPRC's new Taker F722, which has a 55 amp 4-in-1 ESC on the bottom, and it has 25 by 25 mounting. We also have an MPU 6000 gyro on board. Hopefully you guys can see this. Above the flight controller there is a plastic sled and that's holding the video transmitter. The video transmitter is GEPRC's rad tiny 400 milliwatt analog VTX. GEPRC is actually only making this drone in analog. I kind of like that GEPRC is only making an analog version of this drone. Since it's a racing drone, you're really not going to get the same performance out of a drone like this if it was digital due to the latency. Speaking of the analog system on board, the camera up front is a Runcam Racer Nano 4, which is a 1200 TVL waterproof camera. This camera is mounted to a TPU piece with a pretty much permanent camera tilt at about 40 to 45 degrees. It's pretty harsh, but it's what makes this drone a lot of fun to fly. This camera tilt is a big part of why this drone flies so damn fast. Receiver-wise, I have the ELRS version right here. The ELRS receiver is sitting right in between this stubby antenna and the flight controller. You might be able to see it right there. But you can also get this with a Crossfire receiver, or there's a plug-and-play option as well. Taking a look at the motors, we've got the GEPRC SpeedX 2207 2050 kV motors paired with GemFan 51466 tri-blade props. This drone also comes in a version with T-Motor F60 motors. If you get the GEPRC version like I have here, that aluminum plate that I showed you guys earlier has red accents on it. It's black with red. If you get the T-Motor version, that plate's going to look a little bit different because it's going to have titanium accents instead of the red. The battery obviously mounts to the bottom of the frame, and they recommend using a 1300 to 1500 milliamp 6S LiPo. In the flight that you guys saw at the beginning of this video, I was actually using a 1050, so it was actually a little bit lighter than what they suggest. The 1050, I really like how this thing performed. It's nice and light, so it kept the weight of the drone down even more. So I'm sure if you had a 13 to 1500, it's going to be a little bit heavier, so it may not have the same performance as this one. Looking at the back of the drone, we've got a stubby antenna on the back here for the VTX. The ELRS antenna is attached to the bottom of the frame right here. And in between those two, we have our XT60 power cable. This fin is also included in the box. It's not on the drone when you get it. It's just made of TPU and it's held in with those 3 screws. I might end up taking this off and actually putting a RunCam thumb on top where this fin is supposed to sit, just because I feel like this would be a really cool drone to get some HD footage from. So yeah, that is the GEPRC Racer. This thing flies absolutely insane and feels very well made. If you've never flown an FPV drone with 40 to 45 degree camera tilt like this, it can take some getting used to since you end up flying so fast, but it is really what makes a drone like this so much fun to fly. The tune out of the box is very well dialed in. Overall, big props to GEPRC. This thing is a lot of fun and just feels very well made. Like I said earlier, it's kind of cool to see GEPRC releasing a drone like this that is only being sold as an analog option. I really can't vouch for the drone's durability. I don't really want to put it to the test because I actually really like this drone, but it feels very solid. There's no flex in these arms. It's nice and thick. You got that aluminum plate in the middle holding everything together. And I think unless you just fly this thing full speed into cement, I think this drone is going to hold up just fine. Alright, so that's going to do it for this review, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more FPV content. Leave this video a like, and if you have any questions about the GEPRC Racer, leave a comment down below.